What if Dale Earnhardt Jr. signed with Joe Gibbs instead of Rick Hendrick in 2008? Across two previous volumes of Racing Infinity, we saw Dale Jr. enter a new chapter in the number 18 Toyota and clinch a spot in the 2009 chase over Kyle Busch with a win at Richmond. Today in part 3, we advance to late in the 2009 chase, where Jr. looks for a boost in the title fight at a track he and his father are both legends at. Welcome to Volume 34 of Racing Infinity, where we continue with a what if from a couple of previous Racing Infinity episodes, this one involving a timeline where Dale Earnhardt Jr. decided to go to Joe Gibbs Racing in 2008. Last time, we ran the final race of the 2009 regular season at Richmond, where Dale Jr. picked up a crucial win that locked him into the chase for the Sprint Cup. Today, we fast forward late into the chase with the fourth to last race of the season at Talladega, a track that Dale Jr. knows how to win at all too well. Speaking of which, he needs a good run today to stay in contention as he sits 6th in the standings, with Jimmie Johnson so far on his way to win a 4th title in a row. Jr. hasn't won since that Richmond race, but he hopes to change that today. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch, driving the 8, has been the best performing driver outside the chase as well. Since Richmond, things stay normal compared to the real-life chase, as Mark Martin kicked things off with a win at New Hampshire. Then Jimmie Johnson won 3 of the races so far at Dover, Fontana, and Charlotte. Meanwhile, Tony Stewart won at Kansas, and Denny Hamlin got the most recent win at Martinsville. Without further ado, here's the starting lineup for the 2009 Amp Energy 500. Starting on the pole is the number 19 of Elliott Sadler, and starting next to him is the 24 of Jeff Gordon. In row 2 is the 31 of Jeff Burton, followed by the 02 of Brad Keselowski. Row 3 features the 39 of Ryan Newman and the 47 of Marcos Ambrose. Starting 7th is the 6 of David Reagan, and starting in 8th is one of our chase contenders, Juan Pablo Montoya. Greg Biffle will start 9th, and starting 10th is the 14 of Tony Stewart. Jimmie Johnson, chasing his 4th consecutive Sprint Cup championship, he'll start 11th, and Matt Kenseth will start in 12th. Starting 13th is Casey Mears in the 07, and in 14th is the 83 of Brian Vickers. Clint Boyer will start 15th, and David Stremme will start 16th. Kevin Harvick will roll off in 17th, with Kyle Busch next to him in 18th. Starting 19th is the 20 of Joey Logano. Starting 20th is Carl Edwards in the 99. Behind them are a pair of teammates, the 44 of AJ Allmendinger and the 9 of Casey Kane. Max Pappas will start in 23rd, and Stephen Wallace, driving part-time for Phoenix Racing, he'll start 24th. Starting 25th is Jimmy McMurray in the 26th, and in 26th is the 00 of David Rudiman. Starting 27th is the 5 of Mark Martin, and 28th is the 43 of Reed Sorensen. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will have to work his way through the field. He'll start in 29th, and Dave Blaney starts next to him in 30th. Michael Waltrip will start 31st, and rolling off 32nd is the 77 of Sam Hornish Jr. Starting 33rd is John Andretti, and in 34th is Paul Menard. Starting 35th is Scott Speed, and starting 36th is Reagan Smith. Starting 37th is the 25 of Martin Truex Jr., and Bobby Labonte will start 38th. In 39th is the 7 of Robbie Gordon, and in 40th is Denny Hamlin. And rolling off 41st is the 1 of Eric Almirola, and Kurt Busch, starting dead last, he'll start 42nd. Every lap, every position matters. Ever since the chase was introduced in 2004, this race has been known as the wild card race. Anything can happen, and one moment can make or break your championship hopes. Here we go. Elliott Sadler and Jeff Gordon will lead the field to the green flag, and we are underway from Talladega. 2x2x2, some of which have already sprawled out to 3 wide as we go down the backstretch for the first time this afternoon. into turn 3 as it is 3 wide behind the leader between Montoya, Ambrose, and Burton. Off turn 4 as David Reagan tries to insert himself into the equation, it's going to be Elliott Sadler who leads the first lap. It's been a while since Elliott Sadler has won a race, but he would like to break that winless streak today. There's a lot of stories outside the chase coming into this race. Everybody also trying to fight for a ride for 2010 next season. There's so much to happen here at Talladega. Who knows what could happen just around the corner. Sadler still leads, but now here comes Juan Pablo Montoya to the inside with help from Greg Biffle. Now into turn 3. As Montoya and Sadler battle side by side, now it looks like the 42 will clear for the lead, but Greg Biffle is there as Juan Pablo Montoya looks for his first Cup oval win. As they go through the tri-oval, Montoya tries to throw a block, but nearly makes contact with the 16 as Biffle battles for the lead. Into turn 1 now, and you don't see racing like this in many places where they're all bunched up like this. All 42 cars still in one pack. As they come off turn 2, Greg Biffle will clear for the lead with a push from Clint Bowyer. Biffle goes up high now, and that will leave room for Bowyer, and perhaps rookie Joey Logano as well. And take a look at this, 3 wide for the lead as the action is already ramping up just 3 laps in. Joey Logano is going to have the advantage and he will take the lead. Joey Logano got his first career win earlier this season and now he's already looking for his second win as he leads the way here early. Joey Logano has looked very impressive here early on, as it is 3 wide back behind him for second. Casey Kane is going to get past the 0-2 of Brad Keselowski, one of Logano's teammates, as now he tries to chase down the 20. Here comes Kane to the inside, and right behind him is Michael Waltrip in the 55. He won this race back in 2003, driving for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, but now he is under fire from the 99 of Edwards. Looking at the back, it appears the 7 of Robbie Gordon has slowed up and is making his way down pit road. He was dropping back suddenly and it appears that he has a flat tire. So he's going to get some fresh Goodyear tires and be on his way. Meanwhile, Casey Kane is still out in front. But looks like that won't be for long as Carl Edwards gets to the inside and he's going to take the lead. Carl Edwards continues to lead, but take a look at who's behind them. A couple names that you wouldn't expect to see run up front. That's the 71 of Bobby Labonte, as well as the 09 of Stephen Wallace, as they would both love to put in a great result for their small teams today. Meanwhile, we go on board with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 18, as he sits around 32nd place. He's been unable to make his way to the front, but it is still early and he's got plenty of time to get back up there. Especially at a place like Talladega, it doesn't matter where you start, it's where you finish. And you definitely want to be up there in contention at the end of the race. It's all about being there at the end and having a shot at glory here at Talladega, as Carl Edwards, looking to get some revenge from the spring race, he continues to lead the way. And take a look at this. New leader, that's the 2000 Cup champion Bobby Labonte, driving for TRG Motorsports. But now here comes Stephen Wallace, as well as the 98 of Paul Menard. Three wide as they head into turn 3, and Labonte is way up the track with only one other car with him. He will certainly lose spots as the action continues to heat up. And one wrong move can make or break your race, whether that ends in a big wreck or you getting shuffled all the way to the back. You do not want to get in that sucker hole, no matter where you are on the track, as Paul Menard is trying to bring Robert Yates back to victory lane. Joey Logano is back out in front as he leads for the second time today. But now Michael Waltrip is back up there and he wants the lead. Can Michael Waltrip get the job done today? How big would that be to see him win today, driving for his own team? Off turn 2, and Michael Waltrip now leads with help from Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch takes a look to the inside, but he may not have enough to get around Waltrip, and that will appear to be the case. And with that, Kurt Busch will have to settle for second now in that blue deuce number 2, as Michael Waltrip, reliving the days at DEI in the early 2000s, leading here at Talladega. Coming to lap 18, still plenty of racing left to go. Jimmy Johnson has taken the lead, but now look who has made his way to the front. That is Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 18. He's got all the momentum in the world as he gets help from the 2 Red Bull cars. A trio of Toyotas on the inside as Dale Jr. takes the lead. Down the backstretch, Jr. goes up high, and that is going to make room for the 82 of Scott Speed with his teammate Brian Vickers right behind him. And now out in front, the former F1 driver, Scott Speed. How about these 2 Red Bull Toyotas working together? Definitely exciting to see if you're Red Bull Racing, and I'm sure they'd love to see them finish 1-2 here today, as we're 19 laps into the Amp Energy 500. Battle up front between Scott Speed and Stephen Wallace. Could you imagine if Stephen Wallace could get the upset win here today? It would do huge wonders for him, as he's been making select starts this season for Phoenix Racing. And I'm sure at some point Stephen Wallace would love to go full-time racing in the Sprint Cup if he can. And I'm sure he's trying to impress some of these team owners here today for just that reason. Now it's going to be 3 wide for the lead as Stewart and Ambrose make a move. Now it's Marcos Ambrose and JTG Darby Racing out in front. How about this team? They are searching for their first career win. Ambrose, much like Montoya, looking for his first win on an oval track as well. At the line, we are 28 laps into this race as Joey Logano leads. Stephen Wallace is second, followed by Casey Kane in a huge pack of cars as Kane is battling Kevin Harvick for position there as they come off turn 2. However, it is still the number 20 out in front as Joey Logano had some big shoes to fill this season, replacing Tony Stewart. Joey Logano is once again back in front, but now Stephen Wallace wants to lead back. But so does Casey Kane, as Kane is looking to pounce, and he will do so. Off turn 4, Kane goes to the inside of Wallace. And Casey Kane is on the move, and he is going to take the lead as they come back to the start-finish line as the Budweiser number 9 is out in front. Kurt Busch is up there in the mix as well. Oh, trouble! Big crash in turn 2. Clint Boyer and Tony Stewart got into each other, collecting Montoya, Allmendinger, and Biffle. And for the first time, the caution... Oh my goodness! Andretti had nowhere to go and slams into the 33. Kenseth and Truex and even Stremme, all unlucky victims in this incident. Now, we have to go back and look at the replays just to see how close Dale Jr. was to being involved in this wreck, because he might have had one of the closest calls ever. So let's go on board with the 18 of Dale Jr. here, as you already see the 2 cars getting together. And look at that. Look how close Dale Jr. was. That might have been one of the closest calls I've ever seen. However, not as fortunate for John Andretti. Oh my goodness, just a huge hit there. I'm hearing everybody is okay, so that's good news. But man, Talladega, one of the most treacherous, most dangerous tracks on the schedule, and this is why. especially in that cloud of smoke. You just don't know what's in front of you at that point, and just, oh gosh, just a tough moment there. But the good news is, once again, everybody is okay, and we'll take one last look at the replay as the caution comes out for the first time this afternoon here at Talladega Superspeedway. The big one has struck coming off turn 2. What looked like to be a 4 or 5 car piled up turned into much more. We are lined up for the restart. Kurt Busch is your leader. Marcos Ambrose is second. Kasey Kahne third. Bobby Labonte fourth. And David Ragan fifth. As we are back underway here in Talladega. We're just about at the halfway point as Kurt Busch leads the field into turns 1 and 2. Marcos Ambrose trying to hook up with the 2 to see if they can get a draft going and stay out in front. Kurt Busch holds his own as Ambrose takes a look to the inside, but I don't think he will have enough to get around the 2. And he's going to settle back behind Kurt Busch as they go into turn 3. But thanks to that, here comes Kasey Kahne once again. He looks strong today, and I think he's become a major threat to win here today. Again, we're just about at the halfway point, but Kasey Kahne, he's been up there quite a lot. Don't count out that number 9 car. And he is going to contend for second, and indeed he will. And he takes it from Ambrose. Now it's Miller Lite versus Budweiser. Who's got the upper hand here? The battle of the beers goes on as they roar down the backstretch. Busch versus Kahne. Down the backstretch and heading towards turn 3, Kasey Kahne goes to the inside of Kurt Busch, but since no one pitted under caution, we will see some of the leaders begin to pit here, including Kahne. Perhaps everyone wanted to get to the halfway point, so they didn't need to fear about stopping again. So perhaps we could see some strategy be put into play. We have cleared through green flag pit stops as now we see Sam Hornish Jr. there. However, he is trying to stay on the lead lap. So it's Casey Mears and Stephen Wallace up front with Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon behind them. We also see the 0-2 of Brad Keselowski make his way off pit road and rejoining the track as Mears takes the lead now. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is there. He settles into second. Been a minute since Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won at Talladega, and I'm sure he'd like to break that cold snap here today. I'm sure a good amount of fans here would love that as well, as he continues to battle Casey Mears up front here for the lead. Jimmy Johnson and Paul Menard are trying to stay on the lead lap here as the leaders are right behind them. As we talked about earlier, some of the earlier leaders did come down pit road, and now because of that, they are a lap down. So some of these guys are trying to fight as hard as they can to stay on the lead lap. As they roar through turns 3 and 4, it's the 82 of Scott Speed up there in the mix. Again, we talked about Scott Speed trying to chase down his first career Sprint Cup win. And again, another driver trying to get his first Cup win on an oval, and at Talladega would be pretty special for Scott Speed if he can hold on here and be up front at the end to potentially win this race. Still a lot of racing left to go and a lot of uncertainty. You just don't know what's around the corner. You don't know what's going to happen next here at Talladega as they go down the backstretch. They head into turn 3 as Scott Speed is currently the leader as he chases them down, and we're wrecking behind them. McMurray and Hamlin go right up the track of the Robbie Gordon, Kyle Busch, and Harvick. Harvick goes for a wild ride, and look out, Rudiman slaps the 26, and Kyle Busch gets hit and goes for a wild ride. Oh my goodness. just a freak accident as Ruderman was trying to avoid the carnage, and Kyle Busch's car ends up hitting the catch fence here. Track workers will definitely need to assess this before we continue racing. We're going to have to see what in the world all happened here. And once again, just a huge crash here, as Kyle Busch definitely got the worst of it, and David Ruderman for sure. Ruderman was trying his hardest to avoid the crash, but ended up getting into the 83 and became an unlucky victim, unfortunately. Scott Speed is in contention for his first career win. He leads. Elliott Sadler is second. Reagan Smith is third, followed by Dale Jr. and Casey Mears. And here we go, we're back underway. Again, we talked about Scott Speed earlier, trying to get his first career Sprint Cup win. A handful of drivers we have talked about today to potentially get their first career win at a place like Talladega, but it's not that easy. It's all about being there at the end and being at the right place at the right time. There's just so much that goes into play when trying to win at a track quite like this. Scott Speed leads him into turn 3. Coming back around, Speed is challenged by the lap car of Jeff Burton, but in second is a battle between Brian Vickers and Elliott Sadler. Scott Speed now has some competition in the form of his teammate Brian Vickers, who got his first career win here in this very race back in 2006. I'm sure Dale Jr. and Jimmy Johnson fans don't want to be reminded of that, but here comes the 83 as Red Bull Racing wants to get a big win before closing out the season. Brian Vickers now leads, looking for win number 2 in 2009. Through turn 4 as the 83 now has a clear path up front and all that clean air. The question is, can he hold on? 10 laps remain here at Talladega. Brian Vickers is still out in front with Marcos Ambrose to second. And Ambrose is on the move. Those Toyotas look pretty strong here today. We've talked about Red Bull. We've talked about Dale Jr. We've talked about Ambrose. Toyota may have a good shot here at the win as Brad Keselowski, that is a lapped car as they go down the backstretch. Vickers still leading. However, they are approaching the lap car of Tony Stewart, who has a lot of damage. Brian Vickers approaches him, and he tries to get around, but he can't. He's going to be held up here for a moment, and here comes the 47. Ambrose takes advantage, and he will take the lead. Can Ambrose get his first win today? Five to go for Ambrose. He's got Jeff Gordon right behind him, someone very familiar to victory lane here. 5 laps is a long time here at Talladega, at least for Ambrose, though. It will feel longer the more he leads. And as I say that, here comes Gordon. Jeff Gordon now side by side with Ambrose. They come off turn 2, and Jeff Gordon now leads. Brian Vickers, Casey Mears, and Scott Speed are also all in contention as Sam Hornish Jr. remains lapped. This is for all the marbles. We talked about being up there at the front, at the very end of the race, and now we are seeing the group of drivers who could be in contention to win this race. Again, though, this is such a large track, there's still a lot of racing left to go. Back to the start-finish line as Gordon and Vickers were just about dead even there. Vickers now going to take the lead back. 4 laps remain. Vickers, Gordon, side by side as they go through turns 1 and 2. Who knows, maybe some of these cars back here could catch up to the leaders, but they're going to have to form up and go quick. They're still running out of time, and they got to get up there if they want to win this race. Down the backstretch, it is still the 83 of Brian Vickers. I mentioned he won here back in 2006 for his first career win in dramatic and, to some, controversial fashion. As they come off turn 4, they're going to come to 3 laps to go this time. And again, it's now or never for some of these guys, and for Brian Vickers, well, he's still got a lot of racing to go. He's going to have to hold off the field for a long time, and when you're up in front, it feels like a long time. You're trying to hold all these hungry drivers trying to get a win, all the chase competitors, all these drivers trying to prove themselves as the season is coming to a close here in 2009. Down the backstretch, Brian Vickers still leading. Mears is there. David Reagan is up in front as well, as David Reagan now peeks to the inside. David Reagan, another driver trying to get his first career win. Long awaited. He's been waiting so long for this moment. This could be it here if he can make the right move at the right time, but also you do not want to make that move too soon or it could cost you a chance to win this race as they come back to the start-finish line now. 2 laps to go. Again, Brian Vickers trying to hold on as we go on board with David Reagan in the 6. Off turn 2. Reagan pushing Vickers. Is he taking too long though? He's got a chance here to make the move if he can. Into turn 3. Coming to the white flag, and David Reagan is to the inside of Brian Vickers. He's got a shot now. Is this the moment for David Reagan as they're side by side coming to the tri-oval? But hold on, folks, we got another one. Here comes Kurt Busch in the 2. Where did he come from? Kurt Busch takes the lead from David Reagan as we get to the white flag. Final lap at Talladega. Ryan Newman is right there behind Busch, who won the 2008 Daytona 500, all thanks to Kurt Busch. But now, no longer teammates, Newman gets to the inside of Busch. They're neck and neck, not giving up an inch to the other. We could be in for a photo finish here, and down the backstretch for the final time, Kurt Busch still holding his ground, trying to get any advantage on the 39 as they head into turn 3. Newman is going to have to rely on the lap car of Hornish, a teammate to Kurt Busch, as they're going to come off turn 4. Newman goes up, but Hornish doesn't! Newman has no help in the middle! Through the tri-oval, they're going to be 3 wide coming to the line, and it's going to be Kurt Busch! Kurt Busch wins it, and he has Sam Hornish to thank for this one. Wow, Kurt Busch wins it by 4 1/1000ths of a second, and oh, they're crashing after the checkered flag. Mark Martin and Dale Jr. go up the track into Casey Kane as the 18 takes a hard hit into the wall. Blaney got involved, and Jr. also got hit by the 13 of Max Pappas as well. The race is already over. Dale Jr. was scored 14th, but now with a damaged race car as he and Mark Martin got into each other after the checkered flag. Let's take a look at the replay to see what exactly happened. So it appears Dale Earnhardt Jr. just went up into the 5 and the 9, into the wall, then came back down collecting the 13. Elliott Sadler got a piece of that. Dale Jr. definitely had some of the hardest impacts, as now you see the 19 and the 13 get together just coming off turn 2, and they both go sliding up the track. On a bright note, you could say that at least it doesn't affect their finishing position since the race is over. Now we go on board with the 18 of Dale Jr. in the Mountain Dew Code Red Toyota. And bam, just like that, couple of hard hits. Again, that hit by Max Pappas, I'm sure that's not going to feel good. Tough break for Jr. He gets the 14th place finish, but unfortunately will leave Talladega with a wrecked race car. With all that out of the way, let's take a look at your final results from the Amp Energy 500. Kurt Busch is your winner. Ryan Newman is second. David Reagan third. Marcos Ambrose fourth. And how about Bobby Labonte taking TRG Motorsports to a top 5 finish? Scott Speed finishes 6th. Then it's a pair of Hendrick drivers, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson in 7th and 8th. Brian Vickers and Paul Menard round out the top 10. Casey Mears was 11th, Casey Kane 12th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. finished 14th despite crashing after the checkered flag. Elliott Sadler, our pole sitter, was 16th. A solid go for Stephen Wallace. He finishes in 17th. And Sam Horse Jr. finishing 19th. And Dave Blaney taking the unsponsored 66 to a top 20 place finish. And here you see the rest of our finishing order. Brad Keselowski is 21st. Max Pappas 23rd. Tony Stewart was 25th. And from 27 on back are the ones who did not finish due to being involved in one of the wrecks. And we had some big names involved, such as Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, who had that wild wreck off turn 4 with David Rudiman, ended up in the catch fence. Then you got guys like Clint Boyer, Martin Truex Jr., Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, and Greg Biffle. And tough break for Michael Waltrip, who looked pretty strong early in the going, but retired from the race with an engine problem. Now we have 3 races to go, and with some names being taken out being chase contenders, here is what the standings look like now. You see that Kurt Busch moves up a few spots in the standings thanks to that win. Still got a little ways to go though, as Jimmy Johnson sits comfortably on top, up by 146 points over Mark Martin, as well as his other teammate Jeff Gordon there in 3rd. Dale Jr. also moves up a spot to 5th place. We got 3 races to go. Who's going to come out on top as the 2009 Sprint Cup champion? And with that, that concludes the 34th edition of Racing Infinity, and this will be the last one until Sunday Night Lights 2000. With races nearly complete, production on the final video and the content that goes with it is fully underway. Thank you all for your patience. We're working to make 2000 our biggest video ever, and we have a ton of on-track and off-track highlights worth getting excited for. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I'm really excited to show you this video, and we guarantee you that 2000 is going to be a big year. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button, and if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. Stay tuned for more updates regarding Sunday Night Lights 2000, and with that, I'm Gray Speed Productions, and I'll see you in the next video.